Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for you to take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Musical, lyrical lingo. Every episode a new bingo. Laugh and sing, go with the flow. Tune in as the memories grow.
Hello and welcome to Musical Lyrical Lingo. This week your hosts are LJ and
Aaron.
Yeah, Tim is on a well-deserved break, and instead of us not being in your ears this week, I decided to rope in EP Aaron. Hey.
Hello.
Both mics are on this week, which is very exciting. Thank you.
It's a novel approach.
It's a novel approach. I do apologise. I just wasn't up to scratch the last time, which was a disappointment, but we're definitely going to have Kerry back. And I have had the cold. So my voice is coming to you in some sort of sexy, sultry tones. Hopefully.
Debatable.
You've loved it, haven't you? I've been very sick and I haven't been able to nag you all week.
Absolutely not. And somehow you've found the strength to nag me. But you seem to be coming out the other side.
We are.
You don't seem to be as sick as you were.
No, definitely not. So I thought we would take this week a little shorter episode, but chat to you, because what is our podcast all about? What have musicals taught you? So we've been together 20 years. This is our 21st year.
Correct.
Our children are very into musicals. I'm into musicals. You haven't really been able to escape it in the last 20 years.
Haven't been able to escape it, but I also haven't been bitten by the bug. I don't go, oh, let's go out and see a musical. What I would say is, since the start of the podcast and listening to you and Tim regularly, and often in the same room, I feel like I've got a better appreciation for musical theatre, the art itself, whereas before I was like, why are they singing? Why did they not just say this? What is the point of bursting into song and dance? It's so unrealistic, and I just couldn't get over that. But now I've got an appreciation for it, and I kind of grown to enjoy it somewhat.
Okay, so it's taken the podcast. So it wasn't anything to do with your love for me. You thought you would.
It was my love for you that I listened to the podcast.
Oh, okay.
It was listening to the podcast that gave me an appreciation of musical theatre.
Okay. Well, what I wanted to check, well, what have musicals maybe taught you? Perhaps you know what helps medicine go down?
A spoonful of sugar?
Yeah. What do you do with a BA in English? Can you guess what musical that's from?
My Fair Lady.
Avenue Q.
Avenue Q. I should have got that. I've actually seen that. I did enjoy that one.
Or is there a sunny side to every situation?
Could well be.
42nd Street. Or do you know exactly how many minutes there are in a year?
It's not Rent, is it?
It is Rent. 5,000, 500, 25,000, 600 minutes.
The fact I even know that. I was about to get up and walk out whenever you started asking those questions. I was like, well, I'm lost. What do you do with BA in English? Catch a bus.
Okay. So musicals do teach us lots and lots of things. But a question I want to ask you is, what is your first memory of a musical? When were you introduced to musicals?
When was I introduced to musicals? Does animation count? Like,
oh yeah, let's go for it.
It's probably going to be a Disney movie. Sadly, it's going to be Pocahontas. Probably it's the first time I remember going to see a film that they were singing. I was like, what is this?
Okay.
Though I didn't hate it,
yeah,
as you well know. But that's the first time I actually recall going to see something that had music in it. Jungle Book.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
Jungle Book for that. So
because your mum is quite into musicals. Well, enjoys them, appreciates them a little bit, doesn't she?
Yeah, but that wasn't something around the house.
Yes. So maybe is that something that she's maybe discovered later on? So
it was the love of you in the podcast. Absolutely.
That is lovely to support. Though you were in a musical whenever you were in primary school.
I was in a musical.
Weren't you?
Was I?
Oliver?
I'm quite sad to say that was high school.
Oh, was that high school?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And I had absolutely no singing parts in it.
No, but you were still in the musical.
Well, yes, I played the very prestigious part of policeman number 2.
Which
and had
is
2 lines.
a pivotal moment.
Oh, I actually got to shoot somebody. Yeah.
Yes. Isn't it?
Yeah, gun didn't work.
Well, we've all been there.
Gun didn't work. I had bought an expensive cap gun.
You yourself?
Yeah. Oh, listen. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right.
Okay.
And I got this expensive cap gun. It was metal and everything, so, the weight in my hand, and very much I have to embody the character. Method acting, yes, absolutely. I needed the weight of the gun, the cold steel in my hand if I'm going to take somebody's life in a musical.
Okay.
And I put it out and I went, like people laughing. I just went, can't swear, sure can't.
No, don't swear.
No, I just went, not out loud.
Oh, not yet. In head.
In my head. That this wasn't the character, this was Aaron.
Okay.
I just went, bang! And then more people laughed. But yeah, that's right. I was in a musical in high school.
Okay. You went to see a musical that you fell asleep in. What was that?
I was in primary school. That was Grease.
That
in the
was
West
Grease.
End with Shane Ritchie.
Yeah.
At the time, he was known for the Daz Doorstep Challenge. Getting your whites white.
Okay. So really up to the point where you met me at age 18, musicals did not play a part in your life. They had been sporadically there.
Yeah, I had a sprinkling of musical theatre throughout my life.
Okay.
But I didn't realise I was about to take an overdose of musical theatre for the next couple of years.
This 17-year-old, bubbly, musical obsessed person, Timothy, was going to be involved in your life for the next 20 years. And along came Lauren on the side. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so what was your first impressions whenever you knew that I was into musicals and drama and all things theatre?
I probably tried to feign an interest at the start. Oh yeah, I'll come and see you. And as you know, I do not enjoy going to see those shows and stuff. But I embrace it more so now than I did before. But my first thing was, that's a bit out there. But as we've said many a time, I also really enjoyed professional wrestling.
Yeah.
And I feel like as time went on, and maybe this sort of helped me come to the conclusion that they're more alike than what I would care to admit initially.
Yeah.
That there's dialogue, and then the wrestlers would grapple, and then in theatre there's dialogue, and then they would have, I don't dare I say, a choreographed performance, but then they would have a performance, and that's their expression of continuing the storyline, to move the storyline along. And once I sort of had that epiphany, I was like,
you can understand it more.
It really helped with the appreciation of the art, yeah.
Okay, so I also want to ask you, probably something that I should have asked you like so many years ago. Whenever we first started going out, you discovered a Bob Fosse documentary and watched it inside out. Please explain this. This has always baffled me, because anytime Fosse is mentioned, you always go into the one line, yes, he had a very unorthodox style.
Oh, you took my line.
And I want to know, was that a young, naive teenager trying to impress his girlfriend?
There's nothing naive about that. That is what you call game.
Or were you just lying in bed one night and this documentary came on and you were like, I'll watch it?
Yeah, the latter. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, no, it was... But both come into play here.
Okay.
So I was lying in bed one night and this documentary was on about Bob Fosse. I was like, first of all, who is Bob Fosse? Not a clue. What's this musical? And I was like, do you know who would know all about this? Lorne. So I was like, right, I'm going to listen to what they have to say. And then this is where the game comes into play. When we're watching something or having a conversation, I'm just going to throw this line out.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, and I remember the first time you were like, what? And I've got Tim with it as well. Yeah. And I've got a couple of your friends with it where if they're like, Bob Fosse was known for his unorthodox dance styles. I think it was with toes pointing in or something. It was all this and those sharp staccato movements or whatever, all that sort of stuff. And I was making it. I was totally making it up. I was faking it until I make it. But yeah, 20 years later or whatever, maybe I'm still getting away with that one line. And people still seem surprised. How does he know this?
No.
I think I need to go back to the well and
rewatch it
and add something to it. But I think people are maybe starting to stagnate a wee bit on my lack of knowledge of Bob Fosse.
It just always interested me that I didn't know whether or not it was something that you were trying to press. But anyway, so we have seen a number of musicals over the years. We're going to go and see another one this year, which you're very excited about. And we'll talk about that in the pod later on. But now you, instead of experiencing your wife, your girlfriend on stage, you now experience your children on stage. And what is that like? Be nice.
It's fantastic. No,
you're being mean.
No, I'm happy for them that it's their pursuit and that they enjoy it, and it's great to see how the stage school has developed those skills, and having somewhat grown up with you and your sister constantly saying without stage school, and everybody, it's been, I've been blessed that they've been brought into I've been brought into their circle, I suppose. That whenever you hear them talking about the skills and attributes and those soft skills even that they developed through stage school, the confidence, the leadership skills, the communication skills, the teamwork skills, all that sort of stuff, I didn't truly appreciate the benefits of that either. I thought it was just a line that you heard that you all, agreed upon and you all spew out. Yeah, but very much so. I have seen that with my own daughter, where she was really struggling with confidence, and she would cry before she went on stage, and just because the emotions, the tension was building up. It's akin to getting on a roller coaster. I personally, my own experience, getting on a roller coaster, the build up's worse than the ride. I thoroughly enjoy the ride, but the build up used to kill me. Oh, flip me. Oh, no, I'm all right. I'll skip this. But whenever I got on, I had the best time of my life. I would jump back on it straight away. I seen that with our daughter, that she was getting on stage and the build up to it was causing her so much anxiety. But when she was on stage, she was thriving. She was belting it out. She was dancing. There's a talent there. And I've seen that with her, but I've seen her also how that's changed over the last couple of years and how she's been able to fulfill that role with greater confidence and put herself forward in other aspects of life, not just through stage school, but that sort of thing. So it is quite a joke, and what's it like to go and see them, but it's great to see those skills develop and to see them on stage and pursuing a hobby that they are both so passionate about.
Yeah, no, that's lovely, because musicals obviously teach in so many different ways, but being part of theatre, I've seen a guy, his name is Josh Groban, saying that if you need to hire somebody, hire a theatre kid, because we're so adaptable. We can do so many different things, and it's lovely that you're able to see that then from the kids. But also, is it really weird seeing people up on stage dancing and singing whenever that's something that you could do it, 100% you could do it, but that's not something that you would feel comfortable in? I would always love to know what others who are not involved in theatre think of theatre. Does that make sense? So do you go, that's amazing that they get up and do that, and you're really proud of them, or do you go, gosh, I can't believe that they did that?
Both.
Yeah.
Whenever you see somebody up on stage and they're giving it their all and you can really see their talent shine, it's impressive.
Yeah.
It's really impressive. And sometimes if it's somebody close to the family, or a member of the family singing or dancing or whatever, or just knocking it out of the ballpark, it does, it pulls my heart.
Yeah.
I get kind of a wee bit emotional, and if you're like, bite down the cheek here a wee bit, like your sister's singing. Whenever your sister's singing, she's belting it out. Every time, no matter, I'm like, oh, here, good job. But every time she's belting it out and she's giving it everything and she's had a good performance, I get really proud of her.
Yeah.
And the same with Charlotte and Ethan and you.
Thanks.
Yeah. But you're just really proud of them. Just going,
yeah,
I know them.
Yeah, that's cool.
But no, I have the utmost respect for anybody who gets up on stage and does that. And as you know, I have a real thing for people who can dance in time. Not people who can dance in time, like a troupe, where they're all moving in synchronicity. They're all bam, turning.
Yeah, you love that.
Real sharp, everything's bump, bump. I could watch that all day. You see everybody just in time. It's that attention to detail, that focus, the teamwork. It is something that I'm just like, that is incredible. And to me, it shows the hard work that's been put in.
Yes.
The opposite of that, I suppose, is whenever equally love this, but in a different way. I love seeing people dancing on time. Yeah, I appreciate that. When I see people, go and see a show in a school, in a community setting, a church, whatever it may be, that's putting on a performance, and they're out of time, and the singing's off key, I love that just as much.
Okay. Why? Because you can see the passion behind people. Not.
No, because it's a shit show.
Okay.
and somewhere, that somebody's stressing out in the background going, they just didn't get it. And I love that. But you can see the kids are having the time of their life.
Yeah.
Did they put in the hard work? Some maybe did.
Okay.
But the ones that don't, they're the ones that stand out for me. And I just, shoulders are going, tears are tripping down my face. I love it.
Okay, you love that. And that's funny that you mentioned that somebody backstage is stressing out. Are you aware of that because on many occasions you were backstage, like trying to get that curtain open and closed for many of our stage school performances? Alex was making sure you were doing it right.
That was no easy feat. An awful lot of responsibility was put on me there by the guys at your stage school. You were so well coordinated backstage, and you were so well trained and I was going to say well behaved, but well behaved. You were taught how to be professional from the offset, and I know that came down from Vivian and those that really had that professional ethos and instilled that in you from a young age, that you knew you do not talk at the side, you do not play at the sides, you do not whisper, and you self-policed each other, which I always surprised me because I was always a piss about, especially then, I'm standing backstage and, you get a wee bit, not saying bored, but, if you've seen the show 20 times and you're pulling up and down the curtain, which is an important role, close the show out, but you were so good at keeping each other in check and keeping the younger ones in check, and how the older ones looked after the younger ones, brought them out on stage on time. No, it was a well-oiled machine, so I don't have that experience, but I imagine, having spoken to you, and I know the frustration that, Tim maybe has had in the past, he's like, we need to get this right, and you hear him talking about whenever there's something coming up with stage school or any of his other
many
pursuits.
Adventures that he's on.
The guy's a busy man. He's a busy man, that whenever you have professional standards, you want professionalism throughout, so it's understandable that if you're not seeing that there's going to be stresses. So no, I actually haven't seen it firsthand because of the professionalism you have, but I have seen. I have heard. So I imagine that goes on, and me, I like a wee background story to any scenario that I see, and I imagine whenever we're watching a community production that there is somebody in the background who's very passionate about it, but maybe just didn't have the talent there, or it's still in a raw form, that they're maybe stressing out and their family's there watching it. They've been talking about it for 6 months.
It's been their life. It's consumed them.
It's fallen to pieces on stage.
What is it? That's another thing from Avenue Q, Shout of Florida.
Shout of Florida? Yeah. Is that a happiness in other people's misery?
Yeah, you do love a wee bit of that, don't you?
100%. When appropriate.
Yeah, when appropriate. Okay. Yeah, no, it's interesting that actually you have more of a holistic and a more varied view of musical theatre since you've been involved through me for the last 20 years, opposed to if you were just to randomly go and see a production now. You kind of can appreciate it a little more. So it definitely has taught you something over the last number of years.
Do you know what it's taught me?
What?
Have you ever heard of the frequency illusion?
No.
Right. There's this thing called the frequency illusion. I think that's like the layman terms. I think the real thing's like something like Bader-Meinhof phenomena, right? And what that is the more you learn about something, the more you see it in places. So the more I learned about musical theatre, and the more I listened to you and Tim, or spent time around the family, that you hear these things coming up, and I obviously enter the room and musicals are on, that I start to see them more often. Like we experienced it whenever we found out you were pregnant the first time, and we couldn't tell people, and so we're sort of going, but everywhere we went, there's babies, there's prams, there was nappy adverts on TV or diaper adverts on TV. There was, everywhere we looked, there was baby related stuff, or going to buy a car, and every time, and everywhere you go, you see that brand, or it's Mini or whatever it might be, just driving down the street, and you're like, is somebody trying to tell me something? I found that by listening to the podcast and speaking to you, that I stick on TV and maybe a series that I've watched many a time over the years, and there's a reference to something that I just didn't quite land, or I went, oh, that's a musical. I maybe understood that it was a musical reference.
Yeah.
You know, things like Family Guy, South Park, things like that have always been on the TV, and there's maybe reference things, but I truly didn't understand the depth. There was layers to the joke, and I didn't understand it until I started listening to the podcast. But now I put on things, I'm like, that's a reference to Chicago.
Yeah.
That's a reference to Seven Brides. There's so many things that I go, oh, I get the reference now. You know, or I understand what he's getting at there, or she's getting at there. And that 100% came from listening to the podcast. And I do pick up on those references more so now than I certainly would have anytime before.
Yeah, that's cool. So maybe musical theatre people are everywhere in everybody's lives when we're just slowly dropping them in, and then it's like secret little jokes.
Tell me this though, right?
Yeah.
Let me just figure out how to say this. Are there more musicals coming out now, or are musicals coming out at a faster rate now and getting into the public eyes, I guess, quicker than they used to? It just feels like now every time I'm speaking to you, or maybe just because I'm around you now that I'm hearing more about it, but it's, oh, such and such coming out, or they're making a musical of that. You know, every single rock band, you know, the first one I heard of was Queen getting a musical.
Yeah.
Now, it was Tommy, wasn't there?
Yeah.
But it seems like we've got one for everybody now. There's Tina Turner.
Yeah. That's right. Hold on.
Did I hear there's going to be one of Hugh Lewis in the news?
Yeah.
So Hugh Lewis in the news, and God knows, Elton John. Does that count?
ABBA.
ABBA, yeah, ABBA the music. That's right. It just feels like that's just bands. That's just one genre. It feels like they're just banging out musicals now. Are they coming out faster now than ever?
I would say yes. I would say also in the last 20 years, you think about Moulin Rouge, which was a film that came out whenever roughly around we started going out, or just before that. Yeah. That was like one of the first movie musicals for such a long period of time. And then that kind of like kickstart, then you had like Chicago was then turned into a movie musical. There's been lots of musicals which have been turned into movies, and there's been a big surge of movies being turned into musicals, like Clueless, Back to the Future, Mean Girls. They're just like some which are currently on the West End at the minute. Then jukebox musicals are very popular at the minute, and the reason is the music's already there, they just need to get a story to it. So that's what's maybe coming out quicker, and you're seeing, so brand new musicals is still probably taking a long time. And there was Why Am I So Single, which was a brand new musical from the creators of Six. That's unfortunately closed now. It didn't even last a year on the West End, so there's still not a huge amount of musicals coming out and lasting for a long period of time. That's what I
say. Are some of them a cash grab? In your opinion, are some of them a cash grab? And inevitably, are they going to be just a flash in the pan sort of thing? Like, fire it out, let's see what happens. Yeah, it didn't resonate with the audience, let's pull it.
Yeah, I don't think producers can allow things to flop as they used to. I know from our research.
Like the musical?
Yeah,
for the producers.
I know that from our research and doing this podcast, a lot of the time some of the classics, like maybe Hello Dolly or just some of the really big musicals, maybe only had like 300 performances, but it was seen as success. Well, having maybe only 300 performances now is seen as a failure. So it's a very different time. Like Sondheim never reached 1,000 performances on Broadway. Like, and Sondheim's one of the greatest composers of all time.
Stephen.
It is Stephen. Well done. First,
Stevie, I call him, yeah.
First name terms. I think every so often there is a surge, and there is a new love for theatre, comes in lots of different ways. Look at what the Wicked musical Part 1 has done. Not only was there one musical nominated in the Oscars, there was two. And that doesn't happen all the time either. So definitely with the likes of social media and
the internet itself.
Yeah, the internet, I suppose, and whether you agree with them or not bootlegs, and pro shots. Definitely theatre is becoming a little bit more accessible, so therefore there's more chance of new musicals or new styles of musicals coming out, or people being exposed to them and seeing them. I don't know if that really answered the question. I kind of went off there, but
no, it was certainly interesting. I think I'd love to see, on average, year on year, how many new musicals came to Broadway and the West End, and how that has changed over the years. Has there been that swap out, and what's the average length of time a Broadway show has been in, in the 70s, to today, 70s, 90s, whatever, in increments, you could look at that. And it'd be fascinating just to see how and what accelerated that. What was the catalyst, and was it Moulin Rouge?
Yeah. It's really interesting, I suppose, as well, when we got the chance to speak to Nico, who wrote Millennials Are Killing Musicals. Yep. And she was so given of her time and explaining as well the long process that goes into writing a new musical, and just who wants to see it, who wants it picked up. And she was really fortunate that a cast recording was done of that musical. So we've been able to hear the songs of that, but there's plenty of musicals out there, like Death Becomes Her, for instance, which is a musical which has been tried in Chicago and it's currently now on Broadway. It's only released 2 songs. So right now you're sitting going, I don't know what the whole album sounds like, but it's going to be fabulous. Well, Millennials Are Killing Musicals, you can listen to everything and we can get a real good understanding, but it's not actually on the West End or Broadway yet. It's had little trial runs.
But you and your sister used to do that when you were younger. You would listen to the soundtrack and you buy the album and play it constantly. And you'd be like, I love that musical.
Yeah.
And it used to frustrate the life of me. I was like, you've never seen it.
Yeah.
You've never seen it. How can you say you love that? But there seems to be an understanding within, your circle of friends that, no, that's okay. You love the music from it and you have an understanding of how the story progresses and things like that.
Yeah, and you never understood that, actually. No. That's a really fair point. You were like, but you haven't seen it. And I went, no. Sometimes you don't. Yeah, don't get me wrong, you need to see theatre, whether it's plays or musicals, and seeing it on alive, there's nothing that beats that. But theatre isn't always accessible.
No.
And you think of where we live, really it's only in the last 15 years have bigger musicals been able to come to our capital city. And even now, whenever there's a UK and Ireland tour, Belfast is often missed out, and it's Dublin, so we've got to travel 2 hours to go and see it. Theatre is also very expensive, so it's not always accessible. So being able to just listen to a cast recording and then do that research and finding out who's in it and who the understudies are, who the creative team, and learning more about the process can then make you really fall in love with the musical. And that's what happened with Hamilton, in our house.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden the pro shot was available, and that became, we were able to see it, not live, but as close to live as possible.
Excellent production.
Yeah, really, really good. Also, I want to ask you, you absolutely adore any TV show when there's a wee bit of singing in it. Let's think of Schmigadoon.
Great show.
So, part of me wonders,
but it's tongue in cheek. It's tongue in cheek, and it's done in a humorous way. And I know musicals can be like that as well. I've learned that.
Yeah.
Is there what? Sorry.
Is there a wee secret musical theatre boy just dying to get out there?
Yes.
I love it!
Probably. Honestly. Probably.
Yeah. Do you think if it had been more accessible for you, where you knew that you could have done a mixture of things, look at our son, for instance, who enjoys musicals, loves going to stage school, just for the friendship and the learning point of view, but also adores martial arts and video games, I think is number one. Is number one in his list there of what he adores. But he could do it all. But maybe whenever you were younger, it wasn't something that was in your zeitgeist, so you didn't realise that you could go and join a local drama club or Hamdram Society.
I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I
didn't spark a wee bit of fire. It did! Look at that smile!
I enjoyed it. I did a couple of school plays and stuff, but I'm just not talented. I can't sing. I cannot carry a tune in a bucket. There's no... I just can't.
You actually can, though.
I just can't.
I don't think it's you can't sing to the style you want to be able to sing in.
Yeah.
Just like I can't either, but I can still sing to an extent.
I'm not the next Michael Ball. So. No, it's... No, I just wasn't that way inclined.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think I could have been easily talked into it, put it that way.
Yeah, I think definitely if we had met younger, I could have convinced you to maybe be involved in one or two productions.
Tim nearly got me once.
Tim nearly got you once and still is raging.
I actually showed up for the rehearsal and everything.
Yeah.
But I couldn't deal with the lack of professionalism from my counterparts, my peers.
The lack of professionalism.
I mean, it was disgraceful. I just looked at Tim, the two of us just rolled our eyes. It was just like, I can't work in these conditions.
Because you have a nickname amongst some of our friends.
I've what?
Well, don't act surprised.
Well, I don't know what the nickname is.
No, but you do. Acty outy.
Oh, yeah.
So you're much more extroverted than you would allow yourself to believe. You like to think that you're an introvert, but you're not. You're an extrovert. So there's definitely potential there. And you have performed many, many times.
I've been saying many times.
Many times in front of a large crowd.
Who's going to see this?
Haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not just in theatre, but in
No.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Which, as you said towards the beginning, they're quite similar. So I do honestly believe there's a little musical theatre boy just wanting to come out.
I'm a natural entertainer, darling.
I love it.
I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly.
Oh, the other guys. The other guys?
Other guys,
Yeah, love it. Love it. See, I take an interest in your movies and you take an interest in mine.
Mine are a wee bit more lowbrow than yours, if I'm being honest. There's a classiness attached to yours that certainly didn't come from the movies I enjoy.
Right, well, that's what I wanted to check. Have musicals taught you anything? Have
Yes.
you learned anything over the last 20 years of being with me through musical theatre?
No, I mean, I was aware what the planes were, if that helps, beforehand.
Shut up.
Sometimes
What?
the two of you come off with things, I'm like, how did you not know that? And I understand it's because you were watching musical theatre from a young age.
Yeah.
That it was you. It's not that it taught you while you were preparing for that episode. It's stuff that it was the first time that you heard that at that age, the first time you saw that musical. Now, that being said, there's fairly recent musicals that are using words that you are going, and I learned this, and I learned that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they have driver's licenses. They're allowed out in public. They don't have care assistants with them.
Aaron, that's desperate.
There's but there's times there's things that you come up with. I'm like, really? But no, and then there's times where I'm right there with you. I'm going, did not know that. That is completely new to me. But yeah, no, absolutely. I've learned stuff from hearing about musicals because I maybe don't watch them and I don't watch the documentaries that you watch. And hearing you and Tim talking about them and being in that circle. Yeah, there's definitely stuff to be learned and stuff that you can apply to life, you know. It's not like a wee box step to get you out of a sticky situation.
Oh, go you. Go you. Tim will be very proud of you right now.
Thanks.
Very proud.
Thanks, Tim.
So we are getting to go see a musical
Yes.
this year and hopefully getting another wee London trip to go and see a couple more.
Yes.
We're very excited.
Yep, we're going to see Diana the musical.
No, we're not.
We got tickets at an absolute steal of a price.
Yeah, no. It's on Netflix for free and I still can't.
Is it actually?
Yeah. Still can't.
That'll be hilarious to watch.
Sometimes in my random Spotify, where I'm just like listening to musical, a Diana song come on. I'm just like, I still don't understand how this got made. Why it's terrible.
But you don't know because you haven't seen it.
Oh, it's
No, I imagine it's going to be terrible. It's one of those ones. I'm going to get that community production thing going on. We're going to be watching it. And I'm going to be killing myself laughing going, this is so bad. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think it's that a bit like, you know, a couple of those films which have now become, they were so bad they're amazing that people have to watch them. I can't even think.
There's a
of the
term
name.
for things like this, but I'm not going to use it in relation to
Oh, okay.
a Diana musical. But
Oh, yes.
I imagine it would be one of those productions,
Yes,
an
yes.
absolute
Yeah, that's not. I
mess.
didn't say that. Okay. Gosh, I'm all confused. Yeah, okay, I'm glad that you have learned something. I feel like I need to continue on this journey.
You didn't set up the podcast to teach me stuff through musical theatre.
No.
You could have done that in the slide deck.
No, but the podcast was all about teaching others, or like what musicals have taught us, and then
Sharing
educating.
experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what people like to hear. We like to hear your stories. As a fan and a regular listener, we'd like to hear the stories that you and Tim have and the anecdotes that you've come up with, and they're so funny.
Yeah, and it's nice discovering new musicals, learning about them, and then
Yep.
you know, not only learning about like the actual musical itself, you know, whether it's like Marie Antoinette or like the Henry Six Wives or Henry Eight's Wives. You know, there's so many things that can be taught through musicals, but also like if you're involved in a production, you can learn so many like life skills, and also you can just be introduced to a new musical, and that could be some learning for the week. So there's a whole variety.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Podcast.
I haven't seen Six, but Charlotte, our daughter, speaks of it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, not all the time, but she was really into it, and I've heard some of the songs being played in the house, which absolutely was not age appropriate, but she was mature enough to understand what she could and couldn't say, and maybe just didn't understand why.
Yep.
How historically accurate is that thing? Like, obviously they wouldn't play it in school, but
No.
Charlotte has an understanding of the order
Yes.
of the wives of Henry VIII, and should that come up in exam, she would do well.
Where they came from.
Like the House of Holbein or something.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, the French and then moved, and German, and
Yeah.
you know, like all
Spanish.
of those. But Anne Boleyn was French, or she grew up in the French.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were like saying I was wrong.
Isn't Aragon in Spain?
Okay. Yeah. So she has like, but the musical is not done like as a proper historical representation. It's like about trying to say who had the worst story.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But there's definitely learning there.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, what did you... No, I was going to say, like, we already kind of like discussed that, but I was just thinking, whenever you first hear something that you like being turned into musical, usually you're...
Barriers are up 100%.
Yeah, aren't they?
Not interested. Oh, they're going to ruin that.
Yeah.
Let's see how they ruin that. Yeah, well, I've been proven wrong time and time again.
Haven't you?
I have, yeah.
And you've also convinced your friends to go and see things, and then they've
I have.
enjoyed it,
Yeah.
which is pretty good. You
Bit of
did
social proofing.
Yeah, you did enjoy Wicked.
Yeah, more than I wanted to.
Yeah.
Not more than I wanted to. But again, it was one of those things, I was being coerced into watching it, and I didn't really want to.
But also a bit
But I
like,
loved it.
but a bit like my poor dad. Like, my dad was not into musicals at all, and grew up with parents who were obsessed with musicals, dragged him to everything, and then married my mum, who was obsessed with musicals, and then had 2 children, and now has grandchildren that are obsessed with musicals. But he has an appreciation for different parts of the musicals, but sometimes whenever he
Like the end.
like the set design, like he actually goes and watches a musical, or would watch a musical and be more interested in how
Yeah.
the set was created.
Which is why Back to the Future would blow his mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
actually he would enjoy that.
So,
And you can kind of appreciate both, but you really did enjoy Back to the Future, like so much so you would go and see it again.
yeah.
So hopefully, if there was anything else, like, I mean, I think if they turned around and said Star Wars was now a musical, you would draw the line. I don't think you could cope with that.
I'd go to see it.
Would you go to see it?
100%, yeah.
But it would annoy you because it would have to change some of the storyline, and then you would be sitting going, "That's not what they say at this point."
That's not canon. Yeah, it depends which one they do. But yeah, no, I'd go to see it. I think I'm been proven wrong time and time again. What's the worst can happen?
Yeah.
I go to see it, didn't like it, just ignore it, never happened.
Yeah. I think what I was trying to say about Wicked before I went on something else is me and my sister were obsessed with it, and then my mum was obsessed with it, and my poor dad, it literally was just in his ears 24/7, so I don't think that he would ever entertain watching the film because he's just been like burnt by that music. He's just like, no. Do you remember you were obsessed with that?
He dodged the bullet though, didn't he? Didn't we all go to London one time? Is that the time you went to see it?
Yeah, we went to see it,
You just went to see it, and because he had a brother in arms, we were able to go to a comedy show instead.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That was his way out. Yeah.
Which he was delighted about. Absolutely delighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Likewise.
No, you've seen it now. Well, you've seen part 1. Looking forward to part 2 in November. So that, I think, is going to be our episode for this week.
Anything coming up in musical theatre for the listeners?
Well, I mean, there's quite a lot. Usually this is Timothy's bit, so I'll just keep it short. The Lightning Thief, the Percy Jackson musical, is going to go on tour from August.
Okay.
It's just a UK tour. It's not coming over the water, unfortunately. But there's a real buzz around this musical. Originally started on Broadway, and it hasn't made it over to UK shores yet. Greatest Showman, we all know The Greatest Showman.
P.T. Barnum?
Yeah, you actually have not
Never seen
watched
it.
that film.
Nope.
Excuse me. You've not watched that film. You're not interested in it because it has literally been shoved down your throat, every single song.
Yep.
And you are almost taking a bit of a stance against that one, aren't you?
Yeah.
Though your brother loves that. A guy who definitely is not interested in musicals at all is obsessed with that film.
I wouldn't say obsessed, but yeah, he certainly enjoyed it.
No, he is. He will.
He has tried to sell it to me.
And he will optionally put that on as their family movie night. Like, that is his choice. So, there you go. Greatest Showman, the musical, will premiere in the UK at the Bristol Hippodrome, but that will be spring 2026. So
okay. Well, we can wait for that.
A little bit. Hercules is starting to slowly drop.
That showed up my feed there last night.
Did it?
Yes.
Did it? So we're hopefully going to go see that in August, aren't we?
Yep.
Fingers crossed, all being well. And yeah, it's getting lots of wee little bits are slowly dropping. The Big Night of Musicals. It was filmed a couple of weeks ago, the Big Lottery Night of Musicals. It will be aired on television on the 22nd of March. So really not that long, a couple of Saturdays.
Okay.
So there will be Mean Girls, Hercules will be there, Cabaret, maybe is it Here and Now, the Steps musical. It will be there. Yeah, it'll be a great night.
Steps have their own musical?
Yeah.
That's a tragedy.
Oh, gosh. And then the Oliviers were announced this week, and just special shout out to wonderful Lauren Drew, who has been nominated as Best Actress in Titanic, which is currently on in the West End. Absolutely well deserved, Lauren, for your nomination, and she is up in the same category as Melda Staunton for Hello Dolly.
Wow.
Isn't that
That's
wow?
the one that Tim loved.
That is the one.
See,
that Tim
the
loved.
fact I even know these names.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, Tom Zander, he has been nominated for Best Actor in a Musical, and he is currently playing Damien in the West End. Timothy and I got to go and see that, and he, again, well deserved for that. As
In
well
what
as
musical?
Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
Leighton Williams is also been nominated in that category too for Titanic. So, and Titanic has been nominated for Best Musical. So yeah, fantastic.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. I will certainly not take any more of Timothy's thunder because he knows a lot more than me. But he has had an amazing week in Les Mis in their 40th celebrations. Let the people sing.
Congrats, Tim.
So
Proud of you.
congrats, Tim. Congrats, Kerry. Congrats to the
Yes.
whole creative team and all who were on that stage. Absolutely wonderful production. So enjoy your week of rest and recovery, hopefully. And Timothy will be back. Hopefully.
To take a seat. I've been keeping it
Take
warm.
a seat that you've kept warm.
Pressure's
we'll be
off.
back next week with, some fun musicals. With
Right.
lots of learning.
You can't tell me what the next one is. Do I have to wait?
Yeah, that's it, because I don't know which order we're doing it in, and I don't want to make a
I get the
say
same.
without.
I get the same surprise whenever we're recording it. I don't get told beforehand.
Ooh, oh, what are we doing
Yeah.
tonight?
No, I'm sitting there and then you just kick into it. I'm like, okay.
I'm interested in this.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us this week. Have a lovely week. And we'll be back in your ears again next week. All for now.
Bye.
Tune in as the memories grow.